Hey, good morning everybody, welcome back. Looks like it's going to be another nice day today. Yesterday Dayna was watering a bunch of stuff around the property, and she was using the metal watering can that we have. And I know it takes a little while for her to do the fruit trees and stuff because of the way the water's set up right now. That'll obviously change in the future, but basically we just fill up 5-gallon buckets of water 2 at a time, take them over to the fruit trees, and then she just dumps water into a watering can and just waters each tree individually. But I said, I'll get the water for you, and then once I put out about maybe 6 of the 5-gallon buckets of water, I was like, I'm gonna run up and grab another watering can and I'll give you a hand, because she does like the flowers and the vegetables too, so it takes a little bit of time. And I couldn't find any watering cans. And I had probably like 20 watering cans before I moved, and I left, I guess, a couple for the new homeowners. But I know that I brought a couple watering cans, and I couldn't find anything anywhere. So I went up into CP1, that's what we call the carport, and I started looking for watering cans, and I couldn't find anything. Not to mention, I realized that the carport was just becoming a disaster area. So I was bummed, because normally I'm the kind of guy that can find anything anywhere because I put it back when I'm done with it. Don't laugh, Dad. And I'm up there and it's just ridiculous. I'm treading on stuff, I'm falling over things, and most of the times it's because when it starts to rain, you're just trying to get things put away real quick, and you do that 20 times and it just becomes a nightmare. So I spent yesterday inside the carport Still didn't find the watering cans, which kind of stunk, but ultimately I was able to really resituate a lot of the stuff in this carport, especially since we don't have a usable shed or a garage right now. This is basically where we store everything. So it was nice to get that all wrapped up, but the camera ran out before I could finish the day. I thought I'd just bring you guys up real quick and show you what it looks like. It looks like an organized carport, but I'm gonna take you in real quick and we'll check it out. But what I did was I brought all the gardening stuff out. So inside all this is, seed starting trays and heat maps and all the kind of stuff that you would essentially need for gardening. I just kind of brought out the tubs. I don't care if they sit in the rain. There's nothing in there that, couldn't potentially get wet. But like all the sprayers and stuff, a few things for the tractor, but tomato stakes that aren't getting used right now. Even the ladders, this was just disheveled yesterday, and I need to get this ladder into the house for a little bit, and I went through just a little bit of wood that's out here that I don't mind sitting out, and don't mind our dry erase board. And there is value in free, except for when you're a business. Anyway, I'll take you inside real quick so you can see what it looks like. Definitely a little more organized than it was yesterday, and makes it a lot easier for me to come up here and not only find stuff, but I had both tables, both these tables were up here, but they were pretty much covered. So when it would be pouring rain out here and I'd come up for like a nut or a bolt, I had nowhere to like lay stuff out and kind of go through things. So at least now, I got this table for the most part cleared off. so that if I do come up here, you know, I can spend a little time kind of figuring out what I need before I walk back down to the house. But always nice to get cleaned up a little bit and kind of go through stuff. Like I said, I'm the kind of guy that pretty much knows where everything's at, but obviously with this build so far, you know, things just get disheveled and become a little bit of a nightmare. So yeah, it's nice. Anyway, now that I can find everything, that just means I got to do more work, right? But I'm going to keep moving and grooving on this mud room. Dayna had to take off for a couple of days, so I'm by myself, but she was able to spend the morning yesterday. She went over the tiles with a little scrub pad just to get up any last film on top of the tiles. And then I just let it, gave it a nice wipe down yesterday, and then I just let it dry out. And then today I'm gonna seal the tile, which shouldn't take me very long. And then my hope is that I can just keep moving and grooving while that the sealer's setting up. I'm gonna pull all the trim out that I bought the other day, get that painted up, and start getting the door trim cut so that I can start getting the door trim installed. And we're just gonna keep moving and grooving. So I'll set the camera up and see what I can capture as usual, and I'll check back with you guys in a little bit. Like I said, Dayna went back and finished cleaning the entire floor yesterday. She used a little scrub pad to get off all the rest of the film, wipe the floor down real good, and it looks fantastic. Since it's all really clean before I start messing it up, I'm gonna go back and seal the floor this morning. The floor itself doesn't need to be sealed. The porcelain tile really doesn't need sealer over it, just the grout lines do. But just like everything else right now, sealer was crazy expensive. I used to have a gallon jug of Tile Lab grout sealer at my old house that I had for like 10 years. And I think I paid like 25 bucks for that gallon. Well, yesterday it was like $60 for almost the same thing. And, you know, for like 20 bucks, I just got a small spray bottle. Typically, I don't want to use a spray unless I was doing, let's say, a wall. I think I had an old roller for the grout lines. I'm going to try the spray to see how controlled it is in the grout line this morning. And if it doesn't work how I want it to, I'm just going to pour it into this little container with a little flip open spout. That way I can basically just run it down the grout lines and get the seal, like, so I don't waste any of this and I get it right on the grout line. I think I can probably do at least half the floor, if not all of it, before I go back and start wiping it down. I'm going to take my shoes off so I'm in my socks, and I'm going to start the rock and roll. Okay, so the tile is all sealed. The spray bottle wasn't good and it wasn't bad. When I tipped it over, it was leaking a little bit, which is annoying. It sprayed probably more than I needed to onto the floor because, like I said, really just the grout needed to be sealed. But you can seal the tile, it's not a big deal. Obviously, when you spray that on, it kind of comes in like a little bit of a river form on that grout. So when you go to wipe it down, you're wiping it onto the tile anyway. So you're kind of giving it a thin seal. But it worked out fine. Obviously, the spray bottle is going to be better for like a bathroom wall or when you're tiling like maybe your backsplash or something. But for right now, I'm just going to let this sit for a few hours. We'll see how the grout soaks up the sealer. If I have to give it a second coat, I will. Otherwise, I'm going to move on to another task. Catch you guys in a little bit. Hey, good afternoon. So it has been pouring here for probably 12 hours. It just started finally letting up. And I spent the morning editing the Diggerland video and getting that uploaded, so there's definitely no wasted time here when it rains. But obviously I wanted to jump right back into working on the mudroom this morning, but that wasn't going to happen. I left off yesterday. I think I sealed the tile floor. I did go back again around 4 in the afternoon yesterday and put a second coat of sealer on there, and I checked it this morning real fast. It looked really nice, and I'm just going to be done with that. But I just want to keep rocking and rolling on this room. Dayna's away for a couple more days. It would be awesome to have the room just pretty much done. You know, get the trim cut, installed, get it all caulked and painted, all that kind of stuff. So I'm not really gonna waste too much time. I got set up a little bit when the rain let up this morning, or like 15 minutes ago. And I'm really just gonna jump into it. I got the chop saw set up over here to start cutting some door trim. And then I've got some base molding behind the camera that I'm gonna start getting painted with the semi-gloss paint. So no more talk, just a lot of work. Hey, good morning, everybody. Sorry for the echo. As usual, yesterday while I was working, the phone died. I think I was filling in the nail holes on the baseboard. I was really pushing to get a lot done yesterday, and as you can see, I did sort of finish the room up. After I got the nail holes filled in the baseboard, I went back and touched them up with paint, and then I moved the hall tree from the great room into this area, which is where it's going to live for the time being, just sort of a place to sit down when you come in, take your shoes off, a little bit of storage, place for coats and stuff like that. I needed to get that out of that great room because yesterday I got a phone call late in the day that our kitchen cabinets were going to be here this morning. And they did get here this morning, bright and early. But the problem was that where the kitchen was where I had all my tools and extra wood and all that stuff stored in that corner. On the other side of the room was the hall tree and a few other odds and ends. So I had to move all this wood and all my tools to the other side once I got the hall tree moved into this room. And it was getting late. It was like 6:30 by the time I started doing that. So I just had a big push to get kind of finished for last night. And I was very happy with what I got done. I'm happy with how this room looks so far. I still need to go back and I ripped some drywall yesterday when I was putting the trim on. I don't know if I showed you guys, but I had to score a little bit of the sheetrock. There was a little bit of a difference between the door jamb and the sheet. So I just put the trim up against it, scored the side, and then I kind of just shaved away a little bit of the sheetrock to get the trim to sit a little bit nicer. That was a tip I found on YouTube one time. But I ripped a little bit of the sheetrock, so I got to go back and touch that up. I also have to go around and fill all the nail holes in the door trim. I figured I could do that a little bit later since nothing was going to be in my way when I went to paint those. So I'm kind of going to get started today just filling in those holes. I may go back and actually paint the door trim just so that I can sort of be done with this room. I may wait and let Dayna paint it when she comes back. But now that I've got this finished, and now that all the kitchen cabinets are in the great room, I think I'm going to put all the doors back on their hinges, or hang all the doors back up. I took them off originally to paint the inside and outside of the door trim, and I also left them off so that I could polyurethane the thresholds. Since that's all done, I'm going to spend today tidying up this room a little bit, putting those doors back on, and then I'll probably start opening up those kitchen cabinets so I can check out all the cabinets, make sure they're all in good shape, all that good stuff. Very happy so far with the ordering process. The company that I dealt with is local to us, so again, we're trying to keep all the stuff we're buying here local, support our local economy. The delivery driver this morning was awesome. It was just him in a box truck, and he and I basically just brought what we could in the front door, and what we couldn't fit, we brought through the French doors, which was perfect. And like I said, now it's a Tetris scheme in the great room with all the cabinets. But I'm going to work on this room a little bit today. I'm going to finish putting the laundry sink together, and then all that will really be left in this room is the washer and dryer. That can come at a way later point as far as I'm concerned. But once I get the trim done and painted, I can put the door back on this room as well. And I'll set the camera up. I know it's a little tight because it's a tiny room, but I just at least wanted to show you guys what was going on today. So, as usual, I'll film what I can, and we'll try and make something useful out of it all. I think that's about as far as I'm going to go in the mudroom. I don't want to plumb this in just yet because I want to slip some trim rings over those 1/2-inch copper pipelines, and I don't want to like cut them and install the shutoffs until I get the trim rings on there. It's not something that I have laying around, so next time I'm out, I'll pick them up with the rest of the supplies. But I'm pretty stoked. I mean, I have just enough room, I think, to cut that drain line down, get a nice P-trap on there. I left myself a nice butterfly loop to tie in the water lines to the shutoffs. And I don't think I'm going to have to drill into the floor. I've got a stud about right here and right here. But I got a stud about right here, and I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some double-sided tape or some Velcro on the bottom of the feet. I'll put this exactly where it needs to be in place and fill it up with water to weigh it down. And then once it's weighed down, I'm going to send a screw right through the side of the drain into the wall. And that way I don't have to chance cracking any of the tiles, any of that kind of stuff. And that's worked for me before in the past as well. But ultimately, just a nice generic wash tub. We didn't want anything fancy. I didn't want anything crazy expensive. It's literally just to be able to, rinse off and wash down and maybe clean up the dogs as they come into this room. The other thing we like about the cheaper faucet is it's one of the few that you can just take this off, put the adapter on, and attach a hose to it if we need there. So, yeah, that's about all I'm going to do. Dayna will be home tomorrow, so it's exciting for her to come back and see this room pretty much wrapped up, all trimmed and painted. And just enough room left on the inside between the hall tree and the utility sink to put a washer and dryer, which will come at a much later time. I can finally take my trim ring off and get it clean because it's got a bunch of drywall compound on there. I can wipe out the box and get that all set in place now. A few little areas that I need to touch up, but for the most part, I think we're in good shape. And now I'm just gonna put the door back on, and we should be all finished up in here. So, as always, man, I appreciate you guys checking in. And like I normally say, I hope I can piece together a video that's a bit worthy for you guys. And until the next video, stay fly, and we'll talk to you later. Peace.